Do you ever hear a game soundtrack and suddenly feel like you're 12 again? Sitting cross-legged on the floor, controller in hand, and the world just melts away. If so, then for many of you out there like me, gaming nostalgia isn't just a feeling, it's a time capsule. Now, nostalgia is an extremely powerful word, capable of creating and invoking a range of emotions, feelings, and thoughts. Whether it's a familiar chime of a boot-up screen, a soundtrack, or even a voice line, these symbolic moments of our past help remind us that perhaps that kid of our youth is still alive somewhere inside us. So let us begin with that word nostalgia. Now, to me at least, it is a highly subjective term, or at least a very subjective emotion. In the world of gaming, the nostalgia can be found and experienced by people in so many different forms. Everything is personal to the individual, and that's what makes nostalgia so very powerful. Now, for me, it's walking down the street, only to look at a building and remember that once upon a time, that was my local Blockbuster, where I went on a Friday night to rent the newest game and then play it until the early hours. Maybe I find an old magazine and remember when I used to be so excited to pick up the latest edition of a gaming magazine, to read it cover to cover and play all of the games that were packed onto those demo discs. Or maybe it was playing a game and remembering that I once owned the Prima official game guide for it that was full of incredibly high quality explanations of how to complete the game. In my local town, we even had a woman that we dubbed as the video lady, who would walk around the town either pulling a cart full of games or driving a van full of them, and would go door to door offering rentals. The excitement of going through what she had in stock was amazing. For me, all of these experiences, plus the hundreds of others I could recite, are just utterly magical, even though there is a tinge of sadness associated with them. These memories serve as a reminder of a time that is long gone, a time that I will never be able to experience and relive those emotions again. Or can I? It has never been easier to get your gaming nostalgia fix than it is right now. For some, you can get your fix through the wave of high-profile remakes and remasters in recent years. Studios are revisiting classics in modern form. For example, Bluepoint's Shadow of the Colossus remake on the PS4 painstakingly rebuilt the 2005 original with new graphics and preserved gameplay quirks, introducing it to new audiences while delighting the long-term fans. Such projects spark nostalgia by letting older gamers relive formative experiences on new hardware. Analysts call this the nostalgia gold rush, noting that remakes like Resident Evil 2, Final Fantasy VII, and remaster collections like Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, they will often outsell entirely new titles. In short, it allows you to relive a game you loved as a child through an improved remaster, and it remains a hugely popular path to nostalgia. Though, they don't always get it right. For others, nostalgia means playing the games in their original form. Getting your hands on original hardware is perhaps the purest way to experience retro games, though it has become harder. As mentioned, many classic systems like the Game Boy, N64, PS2, and popular games are all now very expensive on the secondary market. A trip to your local CEX store here in the UK will show you just how expensive retro gaming has become. Hearing the whir of a CD spinning up, watching the action happen on a really old, huge CRT monitor running Windows 98 are still experiences that people crave. But an alternative is of course to turn to software emulators like RetroArch and PCSX2 that let them play those vintage titles on modern devices. Emulation has attracted a massive audience thanks to cheap hardware and easy software. Through emulators and ROMs, players can revisit arcade or console classics on PC, on your phone, and help turn them into sort of a digital time machine, if you will. Companies have tried to capitalize on this with official mini consoles and online stores, but dedicated fans often prefer the wider emulation libraries or seek out those hard to find cartridges if budget allows. Nostalgia also plays out in streaming culture. Many players enjoy watching others play those old games, whether through nostalgia-themed streams, speedrun marathons, or retrospective Let's Play videos. Twitch and YouTube channels such as this one have dedicated themselves to retro gaming and have active followings. Seeing a favourite childhood game on a modern stream can trigger warm memories and a shared community discussion. Nostalgia taps into that deeply emotional mix of personal memories, technological evolutions, and cultural cycles. As the gaming industry matures and generations of players grow older, the games of their youth acquire an emotional weight far beyond their original design or commercial success. What was once a pastime has become a personal milestone, a piece of their history, and players now return to those pixelated landscapes of their childhoods not only for entertainment but for connection. To themselves, to their past, and to a time in which they held a controller when the world was infinitely less crazy and complicated than it is right now. At the heart of gaming nostalgia is a psychological phenomenon, the way we imprint experiences from our youth with powerful emotional signatures. The games people played as children or teens were often the first encounters they had with storytelling, with problem solving, or even cooperative play. This is something I am seeing happen with my 6-year-old son. He's playing games and experiencing this medium for the first time, and he's already enjoyed a wide range of games. And it does make me wonder, what games of now will he look back on with such fondness in 20 years' time? For many, gaming wasn't just a hobby, it was a defining part of growing up, forming core memories with friends, siblings, or alone during quiet evenings after school. As these players age into adulthood, the desire to revisit those experiences intensifies. Life grows more complex, responsibilities increase, so revisiting old games offers a sense of control and familiarity. In the loading screen of an old favourite, time really does slow down. Not to mention that due to all of these life limitations, if you will, those precious hours you have available to sit down and game now come with extra pressure attached. In the back of your mind, you know that you only have an hour or two before you need to go to bed and the next day begins. So you need to make sure you make the absolute most of this limited time. But what happens instead? Now you're paralysed by indecision. If you are like me and have large gaming libraries, you experience the dreaded paralysis by analysis. I am willing to bet that so many of you watching this video have sat staring at your Steam library and couldn't work out what to play, and before you realise it, it's either time to go to bed or your window of allotted game time has shrunk down to a size that there is no real point in playing anything anyway. All of this emotional pull is further compounded by the broader cultural movement. In 2025, millennials and older members of Gen Z are reaching life stages where reflection and sentimentality have become more common. These groups now have disposable income and access to technology that makes revisiting the past incredibly easy. Companies have taken notice, releasing wave after wave of remakes, remasters, and retro-inspired titles that hit all the right emotional notes. From remakes like the recent Metal Gear Solid Delta and nostalgic compilations of Tomb Raider and Mortal Kombat, the industry is not just profiting from the past, it's reshaping it, it's polishing its edges and presenting it in ultra high definition. There is also a sense of loss that drives nostalgia. Today's gaming landscape is flooded with live service models, algorithm-driven design, battle passes, and constant updates as developers fight for our time with mechanics that often lean more towards giving players a sense of FOMO when they don't play regularly enough. While this approach allows for infinite content and community-driven engagement, it also leaves many players feeling burnt out. Older games that were self-contained, mechanically focused, and unburdened by microtransactions or daily login rewards offered a reprieve. Their simplicity is refreshing. Their limitations that were once considered drawbacks are now part of their charm. Players yearn for the tight level design of early Zelda games or the irreverent personality of 90s platformers. Not because modern games are bad, but because the older ones remind us of a time where play felt more pure, more personal, and less industrialized. But perhaps most critically, nostalgia today is not just about what was played, but how it was played. In my opinion, possibly the biggest shift that has happened in gaming is the social aspect. In the 1990s and early 2000s, multiplayer mostly meant crowding around a TV with friends. Compare this to today, gaming is more global and more digital, but also more isolated. Nostalgic players will often long not only for the games themselves, but for the social rituals that surrounded them. The sleepovers, the basement LAN parties, the schoolyard conversations. To boot up GoldenEye 007 or Super Smash Bros, it isn't just to play the game, it's to remember who you were with, and what it felt like to live in that moment. Some of my most fond gaming memories involve sleepovers at friends' houses with tons of snacks, and I used to look forward to those Friday nights so much because it meant we could stay up all night playing the entire Halo campaign and trying to finish it in one sitting, or we'd complete a few seasons on LMA Manager or smash a few thousand soldiers on Dynasty Warriors. As I got older, then LAN parties were my go-to. Space was often limited and table space even more so I would often just be sat on the floor with my monitor perched on top of my PC, keyboard across my lap, mouse to my right on the floor, with cables absolutely everywhere. These memories may mean very little to you as the listener, but these are everything to me. I bet you all listening have your own set of fond gaming memories like these though. The worst part about all of this, above and beyond how simple and fun these times were, is that pretty much all of my school friends and all of the people I did these LAN parties with and sleepovers, I no longer see them. Time moves on and people move on, and whilst these gaming memories are extremely happy, there is also a tinge of sadness there as well. Today there is a constant fight going on for our time, which if you're like me, is considerably shorter now than it was 20 years ago. Not just because we have grown up and have inherited the responsibilities that come with being an adult, but because our broader interests have changed. We still love games of course, but we also enjoy other things, or perhaps our gaming tastes have changed. This all means that the huge plethora of games that are now available are all fighting for a more limited window of our time. This is why on a personal level, I very rarely get involved in longer story games or deep RPG games. It wasn't so long ago, a game coming out that had a bigger open world than anything we had seen before, a 60-hour campaign with tons of side quests, was a huge flex. Now though, it isn't a flex. To me it's a burden. It's a barrier to entry. I am fortunate that I probably have more time to play games than the average man of my age, but those sorts of games just don't interest me anymore. Psychologists emphasise that nostalgia is fundamentally positive. It reconnects us with past happy memories and provides comfort during hard times. When players revisit an old game or reminisce about one, they often feel an immediate sense of warmth, safety and being home, a soothing counter to stress or loneliness. Research notes that feeling nostalgia gives short-term relief from emotional pain and uncertainty. In practice, gamers report that playing an old favourite grounds them emotionally. The familiar music, visuals or stories feel reassuring. One person even reflected that booting up Super Mario Kart years after his father's death felt like one of the best ways to remember him. Empirical studies show that recalling nostalgic gaming moments can increase optimism and vitality. Participants felt more connected and slightly happier after reminiscing about classic games. In short, video game nostalgia can boost well-being by mixing fond memory with a sense of coping or continuity. If you're my age, you're part of a group of people that grew up in a world that really doesn't exist anymore. Part of a world where friendship meant knocking on someone's door to see if they were home and wanted to come out and play, rather than sending them a WhatsApp message. We were the last to know life without technology and among the first having to grow up adapting to it. We lived through fax machines, payphones, dial-up internet, and watched as the world completely changed around us. Many of you will remember that excitement of unwrapping a game or a game console at Christmas.
It's a PS2!
That feeling of opening up a game and seeing the booklet inside that contained all the lore of the game, maybe a game map, as well as the disc itself. With everything so digital now, that feeling of ownership, that feeling of something being yours, has largely been lost. I've bought Nintendo games for my son that don't even have a game cartridge in them. It just has a code that you have to use to go and download the game. Now, in the end, the surge in gaming nostalgia is a testament to how far the medium has come and how deeply it has embedded itself in the lives of those who grew up with it. It's more than a fad or a marketing trend. It's a collective reckoning with memory, with identity, and with the passage of time that has long since passed us by. As technology continues to advance and the gaming world becomes ever more complex, the allure of the past will continue to grow and grow, not because it was perfect, but because it mattered deeply to those who lived it. Nostalgia doesn't ask if the past was better, it simply reminds us that it was ours. Thanks everyone for watching this video. I really do appreciate you making it all the way through. If you're like me and you're in your mid-30s or you're of an age where you do look back on your sort of gaming past with a lot of fondness, I would love to hear some of your stories of some of your most I don't know, happy and emotional moments of your past? What were the things that you wish you could do now that unfortunately you can't? My list would be very, very long, so let me hear some of yours. So make sure you write those down in the comments below. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you ring that notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next one.